All right, this is Gardner, Israel, and we are at November the 2nd, 2022, and we're doing some deer meat, processing some deer meat this morning, and we're going to show you a little bit of that, but I also want to show you what we got here. I was cutting that deer up the other day, this very deer, and the deer slipped on the chain that was hanging it, just a little slip, just boom. And it made me jump, and I cut my hand with my knife. Here it is right here. It's not a bad deal. It could have been real bad. That's about 3 or 4 days ago. We've been aging this deer in the refrigerator. We like to age it, at least 3 or 4 days. It gives it some, it's easier to work with, and it ages it a little, makes it better. Now, what I want to talk about, I'm going to put a Band-Aid back on here because I wanted to show it to you. We got on I said to Debbie, we need to get us some gloves to handle cutting, butcher gloves, I called it. I don't know if these are butcher gloves or not, but what we came up with, we got online and we ordered these for Tim. They are cut resistant gloves, level 5. So that would have probably stopped that little cut right there. Okay, the doggone things are relatively I'd say very inexpensive. They're you get two packs of them, or 4 gloves in the pack. I'll put my Band-Aid back on here for about $10, a little over $10. So that's about $5 or $6 a pair. They don't have left and right. They're the same kind because they're very stretchy. But we are going to. There it is right there. Very inexpensive. And it also says, this is what I like about it. This thing here, let me read it. 2 pairs of gloves, level 5 protection, cut resistant gloves, along with 2 bonus hair nets. That's what we had. We found that. It's got hair nets in it. We found this black thing. It looked like a false mustache. Debbie said, "What is that?" And I said, "I don't know. Maybe that's your mustache." But anyway, it's hair nets. So if you want to put hair nets on because you got hair to keep it off your meat, I don't guess we care because our hair gets in everything. But if we were selling it or something, or we would use the hair nets. A snug fit is required to have material at optimal cut resistance. This is a woven material once gloves are properly fit. And it also says, if cleaning is needed, your gloves are machine washable. You must air dry. Now, it's also, they're saying that that you can use them for, where did I see that? You can use them for other stuff too. Gardening, they're good gloves, I guess. Well, I'm going to review them right here. Never used them before, but I am going to use them, and I'm going to put one on my left hand so that I can handle the meat with my left hand while I cut with my right hand in case I slip. And Debbie's going to put one on her hand to help me hold the meat a little bit. And so basically we won't be able to film that, but I'll show you here. So now I've got this glove on, and I'm just cutting the meat off of this shoulder, and it does give me some reassurance that if I slip, I won't probably cut myself very bad. Now they do say in the material that it won't stop all cuts. A really strong cut into this glove it may give, but the kind where you slip and just touch it, you can see it just doesn't. This is a very sharp knife, but it's not, gonna stop everything. But your little, and I'm just cutting the meat off of this. And it also this thing just came out of the refrigerator and it's pretty cold. And this thing here, and it also says that it's not going to stop a pop. So if you slip and stick it like that, it's probably going to stick you. So you still need to be careful. But this is some protection, and against the against a slice cut. Okay, so I like the way it feels. Okay, I like it. It does grab good too. This meat is a little slippery, and but I'm gonna let that be the picture part of it right now, and we'll talk about it. But right now we're gonna turn the camera off because I'm gonna let Debbie help me with one of those gloves on to help hold this thing so that I can handle it better. We're going to make this into a hamburger, and we'll show a little bit of that. We made some the other day. We haven't posted the video yet, but I will promise you that this deer meat is wonderful. And of course that means you have to handle it properly. A lot of times people think they don't like deer meat around here, and back in the old days around here they ran deer with dogs. I don't know if y'all know anything about that, but they had packs of dogs, and the old timers would run those deer with those hound dogs. Sometimes they'd run them for all day. Sometimes they'd run them for multiple days. And the poor old buck deer would run and run and run, trying to get away. And by the time they did kill him, he was extremely excited. He had all kind of adrenaline running around in his system. And by the time they got him, his meat was somewhat tainted. And of course back then they didn't have a choice, you know, that's the way they hunted the deer. And so around here, I think especially, people got the reputation that deer meat wasn't good. Well, no meat's good if you run the animal for hours and hours and hours and put him under stress before you kill him. And so that's why when they butcher a cow in these professional places, they dispatch them very quickly. They try to keep them as calm as they can so the meat won't have a bunch of hormones running through it. Now if you shoot the deer around here with a bow and arrow or a crossbow or whatever, or a rifle, and you shoot hit them in the wrong place and puncture their guts, that's also going to taint the meat. It's edible, but you will have that slightly not pleasant smell to it. And so that's why handling the meat is very careful, and you also try not to get hair on it. You're going to get a little bit on it. Okay, now that is the shoulder. That's pretty much all the meat. There's a little bit there that I see in there. Let's see if that is gettable. Come on. There we go. There's a little bit of meat there. There's not much to it. And this is the scapula. Now we will give this meat, this bone, to our dogs, and they will clean every molecule of meat off of this. This is getting down to the very small pieces now. And I'll show you something else now. I've read years ago, I don't guess I recommend y'all doing this at home, but I read years ago that deer meat was very clean and you could eat it raw. So I ate some raw years ago, and then the other day I ate some raw too, and I have had no ill effects from it. So I'll just put a little salt on this, and I'll eat this piece of shoulder, and we'll see. I'll give you a report on it. It's delicious. I'll tell you one little story about the early explorers of the United States. There was one Spanish explorer, I think he was with the De Soto group, and he ended up getting captured by the Indians down in Florida. I hesitate to say his name because I might be wrong. It's been years since I knew this information, but I'm going to say Cabeza de Vaca was the guy. If I'm wrong on that, I apologize, but I believe, and you can read about that in the chronicles of Cabeza de Vaca, who was captured by the Indians, and they made him into a slave, which slavery was, they definitely had that in that culture, and gave him all kind of menial tasks to do and treated him kind of rough, smacked him around, and about starved him to death. And every now and then they would, when they killed a deer, he said they would throw him a little piece of deer meat, a little scrap of deer meat, maybe something like this piece right here. And he would, you know, grab it up, and then he would go over there and try to build him a little fire real quick, a little fire so he could cook it. And he said that the kids around that camp, those Indians, that as he was trying to build his campfire, his little fire, they would run over there and steal his meat from him. So he said he quickly learned that whenever they threw him a piece of meat, that the best thing to do was to pop it in his mouth immediately and eat it. So he learned that eating deer meat, raw deer meat, was way better than no meat at all. So that's the story of one of the early Spanish explorers. He finally got away from that culture, from those people. I don't know how he got, I don't remember. And he made his way back across the Southwest, back through Alabama and over through Mississippi, Louisiana, and made it back to Mexico, where the Spanish were well established, and got back to civilization, where he could write his memoirs and tell about his eating raw deer meat. Okay, so that's dog food right there, and I ate a good piece of it just then, and it was very, very good. So right now I'm going to go ahead, before I do this second piece, and I'm going to run it through the grinder, and we'll show you that process. Okay, we'll take a short little break right here. Well, let me run a piece through right here, just to show you how this grinder works. And I'm making a long deal out of this right here, but this is this right here is a number 10 stainless steel grinder from LEM. Now I found out that this grinder likes to have longer pieces fed into it. Now this is the larger grinding hole right here, and the smaller one, I'll show you that. The smaller grinding disc is this one, but this one here grinds it up a lot quicker. This takes a lot more arm work to get this done right here. But just to show you what it does, and I'm feeding this piece of meat in there, and I might probably, is it coming out yet? And I'm going to have to put more in so it can. I found out that this thing here likes to have, rather than cutting it up into little pieces, you're better off to feed longer pieces into it, because it pulls it through the machine. So I'm having it pulls it through the machine, and here it comes right here as hamburger. And when we get enough in there, it'll start spitting it out. And I'm going to cut this. Come on, give me some. Cut this piece right here into a. And I do like these gloves. I'm feeling that it grips better. I feel more secure with my cutting. Now I'm going to not cut this into two pieces, but leave a little tag so that it'll stay as one piece. And now I think I've got enough in there that it's finally beginning to spit the hamburger out. And there we go. Now the thing about making deer meat into hamburger is this. Wild game has quite a bit of connective tissue, and particularly the shoulder. Here's a piece right here. I'll show you. Right there. You see that connective tissue right there? That's stuff. When you cook that, people have to like to take it out and all, but the beauty of hamburger, and that's why they invented hamburger, by the way, is to render that connective tissue into such a condition that you don't have to chew it up. So what it does is the hamburger machine slices that stuff up. That's the little white pieces in there. And it makes them small enough to where you can chew it, you can swallow it and chew it up. There's one right there. Now I'm not going to say that there's not any that makes it through there that you might want to spit out because you can't chew it up, but that's what hamburger is. There's a piece right there. But we found that this larger plate does just fine at cutting that connective tissue, so you don't really have to even separate the connective tissue. You don't have to spend your whole day trying to cut that stuff out. Maybe that big piece you could cut out, but basically it's gonna grind up the whole thing, and you're gonna make hamburger with it, and it's gonna taste just like. And I guess y'all that buy your hamburger from Walmart, no, you realize a lot of times you'll be chewing along and get a piece of bone. All right, now there's quite a bit of connective tissue on that one right there. Now this is actually a tendon right here. See that? Now I'm not going to grind that up. That's easily removed. See there? That I'm not going to grind up. But if you could do that. You could grind that piece up right there, and it would take care of it. But it's easily removed, so I'll just not put that in there. Now the dogs don't chew their food at all. You know, dogs are different. They have mostly canine teeth, and they just swallow the thing in big chunks, and they let their digestive juices take care of it. Now I'm going to continue to do this, and I'm going to turn the camera off right now, but when we get through, this is one deer shoulder. This was an average full-grown doe in South Georgia, and I'm going to weigh it. We're going to put it in freezer bags after a while when we get this one shoulder, and we're going to weigh it and tell you how much hamburger we get from it. Now a lot of people think you get a lot more meat from a deer than you really do. So I'm going to just cut the camera off right now, and I'll cut it back on in a few minutes, and we're going to do that little experiment and show you about how much meat. Take a guess. That's one deer shoulder of what you think it is, and we'll see what we come up with. Okay. Okay, we have processed that shoulder, and this is what it came to right here. Now I'm going to put this bag in here, and this right here comes to 1 pound and 10 ounces. I'll put the other one on here, and this comes to 3 pounds and 3 ounces. So we're talking about, Debbie and I thought we guessed 5, but I would be surprised. So we got 3 pounds and 3 ounces from one deer shoulder. Do the other deer shoulder, and that'd be 6 pounds and 6 ounces. So 6 pounds and 6 ounces. Okay, so let's put that in some kind of perspective. Average doe from South Georgia. She wasn't a huge one, she wasn't a baby. When she was a full-grown doe, she had babies. And she was in a good location, and she had fat on her body. She was not skinny. Deer don't have much fat, but this one did have some fat. Okay. That doesn't sound like a lot of meat. Now, if you bought I guess hamburgers about $5 a pound around here right now, isn't it? 5, 6?
More than that, but
Okay, let's just say 6 pounds. So that would be 6 times 6. That if you could probably buy for about $40, you could buy that much hamburger. But this is not Walmart hamburger right here. This is deer meat. This is completely clean, raised in the wild, extremely delicious deer meat. And you're going wrong if you try to figure out, oh, but I could get this much meat and I wouldn't have to go. Okay, well, don't go hunting. You can leave them out there and I'll hunt them. But this right here, I don't know how much work it takes. Now, if you do put the pen and pencil to it, no, you're not going to come out with time, equipment, and all that with your deer. You're not ever going to come out with it. But I don't guess the people that did this to survive back, a couple of 100 years ago around here came out either in terms of money. Well, they didn't even have money. They went out there and they hunted the deer and they survived on it. And I'll tell you another thing, I bet they didn't throw that bone that I left that I said I was going to give to my dogs. And I bet they didn't throw that bone to no dogs. I bet somebody sat there with a scraper, a flint scraper, and I bet they scraped every last piece off of that bone. And I'll tell you another thing they did too. They put that bone in the fire and they smashed it and got marrow out of the deer leg bone. The leg bone of the deer is, and of all the animals, has a substance inside of it called marrow. And it's a fatty substance. It's extremely nutritious. I love marrow myself. Sometimes I buy marrow bones that they sell. So, that's the story. I'm going to tell you another story before I go back to finishing that other ham. Now, I am what's known as a fisher of men. And a fisher of men are people that are tasked with declaring the name of Yeshua, the Messiah, to other people, telling people about Yeshua. Yeshua is otherwise known as Jesus Christ. I can tell you that Yeshua came to earth, born as a baby, did some miraculous things back about a little more than 2,000 years ago, raised people from the dead. He declared himself to be essentially God, and he presented himself to his nation Israel to become their king and usher in the kingdom of heaven. Many people believed him that he was. He did miracles, he could do anything. But jealous people, ungodly people, evil people hated him, just like some people hate God now. And they delivered him up to be crucified. Well, that was all as it should be. He was actually presenting himself as a sacrifice for the sins of the entire human race, so that they might be saved. Somebody had to pay the penalty, and he loved us so much that he paid that penalty. And he also has the ability, or he's the only entity that can raise people from the dead. He's God. This is a belief. I can't prove this, wouldn't try to prove it. I would like you, if you would like to think about maybe, hey, could I have eternal life? Is this all there is, or is there more? Well, I can promise you there was a guy, a historical figure, that said that there was more, and he said that he had the key to it, and if you wanted it, he could show you how to have it. That was Yeshua the Messiah, otherwise known as Jesus Christ. So if you'd like to investigate that, I can tell you how you can do it. You can go to the Bible, to the Gospels of Mark, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you can read the words that Yeshua said that give instructions on how you might receive eternal life. We're talking eternal here. Never, your physical body, your fleshly body's going to die. But this guy could raise fleshly bodies from the dead. Okay, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I'd urge you to go and check it out and see what you think about it. And he gives complete instructions on how to receive eternal life. And it's nothing, I'll tell you this, it's nothing you can do with good works. You can't give to the poor, you can't give to St. Jude's, you can't give to the homeless, you can't build an orphanage. There's nothing, according to Yeshua, there's nothing you can do in the way of good works. You can't work hard enough to receive eternal life. It's not about that. It's about a belief system. So, I could go on and on, but there's no point in it. If you like to think about that, go to the Bible and read it for yourself. I hope you enjoyed the information I gave you on the deer and the machine to grind it up and how much your shoulder weighs. And this is Gardner Israel. I hope I can talk to you again.